I guess you have to totally have sold your soul, totally kill people on the weekends and stuff, and then be a handler. So they're totally evil. All of those, Arsenio Hall included, him too, and they're all handlers. So he gets up there, he handles Justin Timberlake, gives him this, this phony Michael Jackson, and then I'm like, so what are they just making up awards now? He gives him some award named, Michael Jackson honorary visionary, dancer, or, future of the world, award, and it was just like, and I just laughed when I heard him say that, like, who's making these things up? Like, I never even heard, they're just making this stuff up just to give people stuff. And then Justin Timberlake actually does say the truth when he says, I don't deserve this, but I'm going to take it anyway. It's like he knows that it's just BS because, he's done enough rituals, he's dissociative enough, and, he does whatever they tell him. So he knows that, this is what he gets, as a reward, this little statue, this little idol, statue thing. And, you know, I'll get to the point that this whole thing was obviously set up and ran by Jay-Z. He had Kanye West there doing his Dancing in the Dark, which I did in my one of my films, Satan's Elite. That was in it, the whole Dancing in the Dark concept. That was really what that was about. And then they call him Jesus and all that. I mean, he's trying to be, it's obviously a mockery, the Lord, but the Lord's name is not really Jesus anyway. It's Yahweh Shai, and the Lord, and the Lord's name is Yahweh. So it's I mean, he's mocking, Vatican City stuff, but I mean, it is still it's still about this whole we are gods, we're our own God type of thing. That's what that's about, and it's a joke. I mean, he knows he's not his own God. He knows. He gets pooped and peed on like the rest of them. He's no God in anybody's book besides some fans. That's why they need the fans. Because the fans like kind of you know kind of support that whole matrix of them being these idols. But then behind the scenes, nobody basically respects them. Nobody respects them besides the fans. So that's what that's about. So to this Jay-Z thing, he was behind, the whole show. I guess he was, he has enough pull that he can, get them to come to his quote unquote stadium, and do the performance there. And, that's why everything was backwards and mirrors and symbolism and MK Ultra and all of this stuff. And, because it was all, an ode to his to his, master, Aleister Crowley. But getting to the point where I'm trying to go with with this next point is, he has a lot of, partnerships with a lot of places, and I used to actually be employed by an establishment that he had some connection with, and you know, it was one of the more bizarre parts of my work history, Black Child's work history. Yeah. It was a very bizarre moment of time. I worked at this place and happened to just luck up on a job at this place, and it was, it was this trendy kind of place where they were trying to bring in, major players, and major players had a big hand in this place, and so I ended up getting a graveyard shift job at this place, and it was a lot of bizarre things happened, and it was one of the first places that I've ever worked that I met, or at least someone had told me that they were Freemason. And this guy, he was working at this place too, and he, I could tell, now looking back on it, hindsight, knowing, you know, I always knew who the Lord was, I always knew the Lord was with me, I always knew, I always know who my master is, you know what I mean? And he leads me, and so looking back on it now, I know that this guy, this Mason, he totally wanted to get me to join, he wanted to get me to join, he wanted me to read his, Kabbalah books, and it was really weird because one time when I first started working there and I first met this guy, he says to me, I can channel this energy. This energy will take over me. It was like a bizarre. He was saying he could levitate and all this stuff, and that was like the first time I was like, what? Like, what the hell is he talking about? You know what I mean? But now looking back on it, knowing, I was always in this truth. Even when I was working there, I was in the truth. Wasn't always in the truth, but I was in this truth at this period I was working at this place. I didn't know it as fully as I know now, but I had a pretty good awareness of it, and he was saying all of this stuff, and it was just so bizarre. And I'm like, wow, is this what Freemasons are about? Getting possessed. I mean, that was clearly what he was telling me. You know, and I knew that demon, whatever energy, quote unquote energy he had in him, I knew it could sense, the Lord. You know what I mean? Because there would be times I'd just be walking throughout this place, and he would just appear. He would just appear. He would just. How did he know I was at this place? You know what I mean? And he would appear in the most bizarre places. And so now looking back, I know what that was. But anyway, back to this place. Our everyone's good friend Jay-Z had some connection with these people, and people were talking around this place that he was coming to, come and christen part of this establishment. He was going to come and celebrate at this place. So everyone was, so thrilled, and everyone was like, pissing their knickers to, you know what I mean, to, see what was up with him. So, I don't know, he was at this place a few times, and, they were saying he was there and he had a good time, whatever. I didn't see him the first time. But then there was another time I showed up to work and they were saying he was there, and, I was like, all right. So, I was working throughout the night, and then, somebody mentioned it, and I said, well, let me go up and see if I can see what's going on. So I went up, and I was, standing around a little bit, because that was, my job that I was working there wasn't, I didn't have tons to do, which is some of the problem in the first place, So I'm standing there looking, and, I was like, all right, I don't see this guy. So, but they were saying he was there, but I was like, I don't see this guy. So I was going to leave. And as I was going to leave this area, he showed, like, I see, like, good amount, about 6 or 7 people. And they're all white. I mean, it wasn't one black person. They were all white, and they're all wearing suits. They looked like that typical type. Who are his master, who told him what to do. It seemed like it was these people. And so, they're all walking out. And I'm looking, and then I see. You could tell the one black guy because he was taller than everybody. All these other guys, and I said to myself, I said, well, that must be Jay-Z, because everyone is wearing suits, and he comes out of the place with a hoodie and white Jordans on. So I'm like, okay, well, that's obviously Jay-Z, And just like, how Yash Kara says, they wear those sunglasses in there, So I looked, I glanced over, and I saw, I saw him, and then he looked back, and it was really because, we were probably the two only black people besides, the security guy, in this place at that point, because all his security people all outside, all the black guys, they were all outside, driving the cars, you know what I mean, being security. So, but that wasn't what was really weird. That wasn't what was, it was, it wasn't like a huge deal, nothing happened. I didn't see demons jump off him. I'm sure the demons were, was in there, you know what I mean? Let's not pretend, But what was really the more bizarre kind of incident with him, it wasn't with him, but later on, one night I was trying to find something for, during part of my job, I was looking for something, and I happened to call the Mason brother, who tells me he can channel energy. I asked him, I was looking for this particular item, and he says to me, well, you can come up to the roof and you can see if it's up here. So I was like, okay. So go up to the roof of this place, and that was actually the first time that I had actually been up to the roof, and it was regular, nice, trying to exclusive, expensive ass, you know what I mean. So, um, so I go up there and then I see this mausoleum type thing up here. That was what, like, I went out onto the roof and that was the first thing that caught my eye was this mausoleum looking room type of thing. And it wasn't, it was similar to if you've seen the Vatican or these Catholic churches, how they have the spiral at the top. It was something similar to that. But it was a kind of a small circular kind of room, kind of a room in the middle, not in the middle, it was actually off to the side of this rooftop. So it wasn't on the whole, it wasn't covering the whole roof. It was just a very small part of this roof. And so I'm looking at this thing, and first of all, excuse me, I didn't even know it was a room. I thought it was just you know, some pillar or something. Because when you look at it, they have this, there's this glass door. First of all, there's no windows on this thing. So it's a glass door with, um, you know, with this very dark, heavy red velvet curtain right behind this glass door, so you can't see inside. And so, Mason brother opens up the, and I'm asking him, I'm like, well, what is this thing? And he's like, oh, well, it's a nice, eating area. I'm like, oh, is it? So I'm like, well, let me see. So, so I open up the door, and it just is the most bizarre thing because it's like this circular table inside. It looks like a seance room. I mean, I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you. It looks like a seance room. If you ever seen those movies where they're all sitting at that circular table and they're all holding hands and chanting, it looked exactly like that. And it didn't have many chairs, maybe about 6 chairs. Yeah. And it was a circular table. And then the other weird part about it was it had these pictures of, how people take the dead butterflies and they hang them up. It was like and it was all these like dead butterflies in in this, you know, in these frames like, all around. And to be honest with you, I don't remember if it had windows or not, but I really don't remember it having windows. And there was this light, and it was this dim light. You know what I mean? It wasn't even like it was a bright light; it was a dim light. And it was just the most bizarre thing. You know what I mean? And I was asking and this is where my troubles ran into because I began asking some of the other employees about it, and no one else had really seen this room. You know what I mean? Because they had just kind of finished the room when everyone got the job there, and it was just so weird that no one really had seen it. And I would ask people about it. Some of the people who would work on the roof, and they would be like, yeah, I don't know, nobody knew, but nobody really was saying, or nobody knew. Um, and long story short, for me, black child, I ended up getting, basically, you know, thrown out of the place. Not thrown out, but they fired me off of it because I guess I was just getting a little too asking too many questions, and then it ended up one day they're calling me saying, well, we're getting reports that you're saying, the general manager is doing seances in this room up here. And I was like, whoa, brother, I never said that. But it became that, that's what I said. Um, and so that's what happened with that. And then, it becomes even a little bit more bizarre because maybe a few days, maybe a week, I think it was either a few days to a week after that incident, um, you know, our president, comes to this place. He has he comes to this particular establishment, um, and and then some of my people were telling me, well, could probably be, Secret Service you were talking to on the phone. You know what I mean? So it's just this whole thing. But I wanted to just kind of tell that story about my shared experience with this Jay-Z character, and you know, see how you all like it. But this is Black Child. I might do these in the future, but we'll see. Until then, just stay in the truth, stay in the Lord. You know what I mean? And comment. Tell me how you like it.